Hello, this is Professor Robert Linds. I'm a law librarian at the University of Colorado Law School in Boulder, Colorado. In this presentation, I'll be looking at how to use law journals to find law journal articles to research issues of law. This is a form of secondary authority, and this is another lecture and a series of lectures about secondary authority. So what are we trying to do here? A law journal article allows us to explore issues of law. It provides commentary and analysis generally on a narrow area of law. They're useful because they can provide arguments by scholars on how the law should develop, maybe cutting edge issues of law, or bringing together different areas of law into a particular issue of law. They're good for that, and they might be good if you're looking at finding arguments for a brief. However, as they tend to be dense, they tend to be very, very long, fairly narrow in their scope, and then just time-consuming to read. They would fall into the prescriptive type of secondary authority. In an earlier presentation, we talked about secondary authority being descriptive or prescriptive. This is mainly prescriptive. Certainly, the journal article will tell us about the state of the law as it is, but really the purpose of writing it is to tell us how the law should develop. Now, this will depend a little bit on the article that's being written, but it's generally considered a prescriptive secondary authority. So, why do we use them? What are they good for? Well, again, to locate arguments, maybe to find policy arguments, to look at cutting edge issues of law, and of course, like other secondary authority, they provide citations. In fact, looking through many law journal articles, they seem to be half of a page, a very single page in the article is full of citations, full of footnotes. There can be hundreds and hundreds of footnotes in a law review article. The downside of them, though, is they're probably not a good resource to use earlier in your research. If you are just learning a new area of law, you generally will not turn to a law review article. That would be a more advanced use for a secondary authority. So that is a downside of them. So law journal articles are published in a variety of different types of legal periodicals. A periodical is any publication that's published on a regular or periodic basis. What we typically think of, though, as a law journal, it would be the law school law review. Every law school will have at least one law review. It's typically will take articles on a broad range of topics. It solicits articles from law faculty members. And then, of course, students will also write articles for their law school law review. But in addition to the general law review, some law schools will have special interest law journals. For example, there might be a journal on technology law or international law or environmental law. And presumably, those journals would publish articles dealing with that subject of the journal itself. The other perhaps assumption is that the individuals who publish in those journals are likely to have some more expertise in that area of law, and perhaps those are a better source for articles if you're looking for articles about that subject. Beyond the law school law review or law journal, there are also bar association journals. These would be publications of the state bar association, whatever that's a required or an optional one. In Colorado, there is the Colorado Lawyer, which is an excellent source of articles written by practitioners or lawmakers about Colorado legal topics. This could be new legislation or case developments or ways in which to navigate Colorado law. These articles tend to be shorter, more descriptive, and full of citations to Colorado law, as you might expect, or the jurisdiction's law for whatever jurisdiction the journal is for. Excellent sources for practitioners to look at. A legal newspaper is also a kind of legal periodical. In Colorado, it's Law Week, Colorado. These are not going to have law review articles in them per se, but rather news items, maybe shorter articles of interest to the individuals who subscribe to the legal newspaper. And finally, a topical newsletter is also a type of legal periodical, typically These will be sent along with a subscription to the online resource, and it tends to be very topical, as you see on the slide there. For example, the North Carolina Employment Law Letter would contain information about employment law sent to law firms, maybe even employers who want to keep abreast of employment law in North Carolina. So what about those articles? Well, law review articles are typically written by law professors or law students, maybe lawmakers, even lawyers. So in this regard, they have a certain authoritativeness about them because presumably the individual who is writing the article has some expertise in that area. And when you're searching for law review articles, you tend to look for law review articles written by law faculty who have expertise in that area. Although articles by law students can also be quite helpful in giving a description, an overview of an impact of a case or an area of law that's developing. When you're searching for law review articles, in addition to the authorship of the article, you also want to take into account the quality of the journal. So there is a bit of a pecking order of law school law reviews. It generally follows the ranking of the law school itself. So the top 14 law schools, such as Harvard and Yale and Stanford, are the journals from those publications are likely to be considered the articles in them are likely to be considered of higher quality than those from lower tiered law schools. That's not always true and not always fair, but that's generally the way that it's viewed in the way that faculty like to get their articles published in the journals from the better law schools. There's also a set of journals that are called peer review journals. So typically for a law school law review, it's a student editor. Student editors get articles from faculty and they make decisions about publishing them in their law review. In a peer review journal, those editors are actually other professionals, other lawyers and lawmakers who understand and know that area of law very well. The assumption here is that for articles published in a peer review journal, they tend to be of better quality and you can rely upon them more than a journal article published in a law review journal. When you do your research, you will be sorting through different articles and you might want to take that into account. So what is in a law review? There are different kinds of articles in law reviews. There are lead articles, comments, notes, book reviews, and commentary. Really often what we're looking for is the lead article. These are written by academics, not students, and they usually take a critical view of a very narrow area of law. So these are the major pieces in these law journals, and are the ones that we would like to find. They're going to be very long and full citations and insights. There's also comments. These are student written works that survey an area of law and gives commentary about that area of law. The student note, which is a student written work that focuses on the court action in one case, reviews the decision and gives some commentary in that area of law. Then you may also see book reviews or commentary, maybe essays or correspondence by scholars with little academic focus and generally go unedited. Again, what we're really looking for is lead articles and to some extent also the comments and the notes. So how do we find these law journal articles? Well, there are three different methods. The first method is to use a periodical index. So for all the number of law journals that are out there, the law school journals, the peer review journals, etc., all of those articles get indexed by a handful of different publishers. There are actually two that we want to look at. One is the Index to Legal Periodicals and Books, and the other is the Current Law Index. Of those two, the ILP is a little older. It dates back to 1908, so it indexes articles from 1908, and it is available in print, but you'll really use it online, and I'll demonstrate that in a few moments. The other is the Current Law Index. That's the newer of the two indexes, which is say it started indexing articles from 1980 forward. It's also available online. The key takeaway here is that if you are doing periodical research for articles that are very old, you're going to need the Index to Legal Periodicals. I tend to favor that one for all my research from 1908 right through the current day. It has a lot of powerful searching options, which we'll look at in a second. So you would use the periodical index and enter in your keywords, and then it would give you back a list of citations. These also tend to be full text indexes, so you will likely get the full text of the article. If you don't, if it just is a citation, then you would turn to Hein Online, which is a very good resource, subscription resource, where they have digitized all the law journal articles from the law school law reviews and bar journals from date of inception really through the current issue or maybe the previous issue. And they're PDF copies. They look like just what they would look like in print. And so you'd look them up and you could download the article if you're a subscriber to Hein Online. You can also locate the article in the print journals themselves if your library has access to them. And finally, as mentioned, the indexed legal periodicals or the current law index may provide full text access. So that's method number one, periodical index, and then find the article in a journal. Second method is a little different. In this method, we actually use Google Scholar, and then we'll use Hein Online for the source of the article. So what Google has done is it has digitized scholarly publications from all academic disciplines, including law, or provides access to articles from academic disciplines, including law. And so Hein Online, which is the source of all these law review articles, has made its collection available to Google, who indexed them. So you can go to Google Scholar and enter your search terms, and it will return a list of articles from Hein Online. And you can force the selection to just articles from Hein Online if you append quote and Hein Online unquote to your search phrase. Then it'll return just a list of articles from Hein Online. You can click on the link that those citations provide, and it will take you into Hein Online if you are a subscriber. In our case at the law school, if you are on the law school network or connected to the law school network through the VPN, it'll link you right through. This is an advantage because Hein Online, while it is an excellent source of PDF articles, it's not as good as a search engine to find relevant articles. Google Scholar is an excellent search engine, and the two of them together can be very effective. And the third method, finally, is to use Westlaw or LexisAdvance. And there are law journal databases in both of those services. You can search by keyword, citation. There are other fields you can search on as well. It's a familiar platform and is very accessible, clearly. There are some limitations, however. The full coverage for both of those services for journal articles only dates back to 1994. However, they are expanding their coverage prior to 1994, where some journals are available full text dating much earlier than 1994, but it's a bit hit and miss proposition. Again, use the information bubble for the journal database to determine exactly what the coverage is. The other limitation with Lexis or Westlaw is that they tended not to reproduce charts, graphs, and photographs or pictures or whatever else might have be in the journal article itself. Generally, this isn't a problem for legal literature. However, there are times when there might be a chart or a graph that might be excluded from the Westlaw or LexisNexis version. This will not be a problem if you look up the article in Hein Online, because it's a PDF copy. It'll look just like it looked in the law review itself. Okay, at this point, let's go ahead and run a demonstration of these three search methods in the online services. Generally, what we'll be doing is researching this problem that we've looked at in previous presentations, where this developer would like to fill in some creeks on her property so she can develop them. Okay, so at this point, let's demonstrate the three methods by which we can find law journal articles. The first method was that we were going to use a periodical index to find journal articles. The one I would like to demonstrate that I find most useful is the index to legal periodicals and books. This is a database that we in the law library subscribe to, and provide access to through our law library website. To get there, we'll do these steps. After you go to the law library website at lawlibrary.colorado.edu, you look under databases, and here you have to look under all. And then you've got a couple of options to actually find the title. Again, it's indexed to legal periodicals. You could search under index to legal periodicals and come up with the title that way. You could also look under all subjects, and we have this categorized under the law journal search tools. That would work as well. Or you could drill down using this alphabetical list of titles. In this case, it pops right up. In fact, there are two entries. There is the retrospective collection that dates from 1908, which is the inception of this research tool, through 1981, and then the publishers chose to make the current citations available from 1981 to date. We'll want to use the more recent of the two periodical indexes. When we click on the link, we're brought to the database search interface provided by EBSCO, and we have an option to use the basic search. It defaults to that, in fact, or we can use the advanced search. I recommend using the advanced search. It has a lot more powerful searching options. When we get to the advanced search, what we see is the ability to enter in our search terms. We can connect those using Boolean operators and drop down fields. Plus we have fields here as well we'll look at in a second. Beyond entering our search terms and choosing how we'll search the database, they have these search options for search mode and expanders. You can limit your results to full text. You can limit your results to peer-reviewed journals. You can limit your search to certain publication dates as well. And you can look for certain document types. So there's a lot of powerful capabilities here for looking for particular articles. What I like about this approach, though, is we can use the field options. I mentioned this and used this as a screenshot when we were talking about how to be a better online searcher in a previous presentation. This tool allows us to tailor our search terms into any number of fields within the records in this database. So you can search just by just for keywords in a title of an article, which is a fairly narrow search. You can search in all the text fields of an article if you'd rather. If you're looking just for articles by a particular person, you can use the author personal field. If you want to find all the articles dealing with a particular subject heading, you can use the subject heading field. If you're looking for all the articles in a particular journal, you could use the journal name field. You can limit to a particular publication year. And interestingly, you can also search for all the articles dealing with a particular statute or a particular court case. So lots of capability here. Let's go ahead and run a search. And given our recent research on legal encyclopedias and ALRs, let's use some of those search terms that might be useful. One of those was the name of an act, the Federal Water Pollution Control Act. Fantastic. And the other was navigable waters, or water for now. And then perhaps we want to add in fill, because again the problem really is whether our client is allowed to fill a creek and whether that creek really is a navigable water. And then maybe to refine the search, we could choose various fields. So select a field option. Here we have the name of an act. We can see if it's indexed as such, and we can try it as initial search. Let's use that as a statute field. And then navigable water. So really we want to find articles talking about navigable waters. Although it may be too narrow initially, let's try that as a title field. In other words, navigable water has to show up in the title field. And then we'll leave fill where it is. So let's do a search, and do we get any results? We do not, so let's back out from the statute field here and look at all the text fields. We'll turn that off and now run a different search. and we get 5 results. And that's a good starting point. There are probably more search results out there, but that certainly is a good starting point. And browsing the titles, which is the next step in our research, we find some interesting ones here. Something here about a navigable water and a case Rapanos of the United States. It is in the Creighton Law Review from December 2009. Here's another article on Western wetlands in jeopardy after Rapanos of the United States. Looks like we've got a new search term to use, in this case, the name of the case. We also have a new name for an act, the Clean Water Act. This is published in the Nevada Law Journal in 2008. And actually, the last one here is also interesting. This is the scope of federal jurisdiction under Section 404 of the Clean Water Act. Maybe another search term, Section 404, and Rapanos one more time. And this is actually published in the University of Denver Water Law Review, Fall 2007. So we want to look at the titles. We want to think about the journals. We also want to look at the authors. If we can identify something about the author, that may tell us something about the the authoritativeness of it. Here is this article in the in this journal is actually written by a student author, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, that may be a very good thing, because the author may have done a very good job setting forth what the law is and the ramifications of this decision. It also talks about defining navigable waters, so that might be very useful as well. Returning to our result list, we might want to look at this article. That's intriguing about this is a water law review. Maybe there's an assumption that DU publishes articles in particular by authors who have particular expertise in water law, and we could open up that article as well. And we don't really know. We don't get any information about it, about this author. We could certainly look up that person and find out who they are. But the other information we would like to take away from this is the bibliographical information. Document type is an article, and the subject. This falls under navigable waters as a subject search term. That is another way we can broaden our search. And then the full text of the article itself. This is in an HTML format. It goes on for many pages. Might be difficult to read. If it is, we can get this as a PDF full text document where the formatting is much improved, and it's serving up the document to us. And once it's done serving up the document to us, we will have options to download and to print the document if we so choose to do that. Of course, this goes on for a number of pages, but it looks like the article would look if we had found the print publication. All right, we'll let that finish out. And like other PDF viewers, you see the ability to download and the ability to print if you'd like to take the article. Going back to the main listing, we see we have other options here. We can add the article to our Google Drive, we can add it to a folder, we can print it, we can email it. So this information plus the article can be saved. We may have to create an account to do that, but they are certainly options. So most of the articles in this index actually are available as full text articles. However, if they weren't available as full text articles, we could look the article up in print if we had access to the print journals, or use Hein Online. Hein Online is an excellent subscription service. We'll look at that in just a minute, but at this point what we'd like to do is we'd make a note of the article title, the journal name, the year, the volume, and really the starting page number. Those are the pieces of information that we'll need to find this article on Hein Online. So let's go ahead and do that. I will, for purposes of our problem, let's go back to our listing of journal articles. In fact, I am going to take us right back to the Law Library landing page. And notably, Hein Online is one of the entries on the main page. So we'd go to Hein Online and see this very broad collection of publications. Hein Online is really one of the major 3 or 4 database providers, and they have digitized journal articles back to the inception of the journal, but they also have digitized any number of other primary law sources, and we'll be looking at them a lot as we learn legal research. For our purposes now, what we like to do is trying to find that DU Law Journal article if it wasn't already made available on the Index to Legal Periodicals. A couple ways you can do this. You can certainly search by citation. What I tend to do though is I browse the database by name. I would start in the Law Journal library, and then each of these letters is the first letter of the title of a journal. And it's the University of Denver. It's probably listed as University of Denver Water Law Journal. So we look under U, and we have to do a lot of scrolling here. University of Baltimore, University of Denver. Here it is, the Water Law Review. And we said this was volume 11, page 91. Actually, yes, volume 11, page 91. And this brings this up, and we got options. We can scroll down. Here's the article itself. We could also use this drop down page selection option to choose 91, and up it comes. So here's the same article we saw on the Index to Legal Periodicals and Books, but we've now found it through Hein Online. Hein Online allows us the ability to print it, to email it. It even allows us to create a permanent link to the document, etc. So we said this is a way we can find a known article. There is within Hein Online the ability to search through the Law Journal article with keywords. I will tell you though, it is not the most efficient search. It's not the best way to do the search. So this brings up really the second method. We like Hein Online because it has digitized law journals, the law school journals and bar journals back from inception of the journal through usually the last issue or 2. Well, we don't like it for searching, but fortunately what Hein has done is made its collection of law journals available to Google Scholar. So my recommendation is that you use Google Scholar as a search engine for articles on Hein Online. Google Scholar is accessible at scholar.google.com. This is what the search page looks like, and you see it also has case law available on it, but for now we just want to look at articles. And let's try that. Let's try a slightly different search. We already pulled up the Clean Water Act and navigable waters, so let's try Clean Water Act and navigable waters, and how about even fill? All right, so what is that going to do for us? Well, it brings up 9,240 articles, and what's interesting is that Google Scholar indexes not just law review articles, but all sorts of articles from all sorts of academic disciplines. So as you look through the results, you'll see articles from, here's something from Wetlands Ecology and Management, TypePad, something about a book review. Here are a few results from Hein Online. This is good news in the sense that if you want to broaden your search on a topic beyond just legal literature, you have a way to do that. The bad news though is that if you just want to narrow your search results to legal literature, you have irrelevant results for our purposes. There is a solution for the problem though, and that is that you can add to whatever search you are running the phrase "and Hein Online." What this will do is narrow the search results just to those articles available on Hein Online. So here we see a bunch of titles that are available to us on Hein Online. So if you're a subscriber to Hein Online as we are, and if you are either on the university's network or connected to the university's network through the VPN, all you need to do is click on any one of these links and it will bring up that particular article. So here's something about federalism and wetlands regulation, and it should link through to our Hein Online collection, and bring up that article directly. So this is a very, very nice way to quickly get to articles on Hein Online. So Google Scholar and Hein Online, that's method number 2. The third method is to use the journal collections on Westlaw and Lexis. So let's go ahead and do that at this point. So here is Westlaw, and again, I think what we want to do is approach the journals through the secondary sources content area. We can click that, and again, we're confronted with this long list of titles, but again, using this narrow publications by publication type, we can actually limit it to law reviews and journals and apply that filter. And you can see we can even limit it by topic and by jurisdiction, even by publication series. I don't know at this point what would be the best topic to use. I think at this point what we simply can do is enter in our search terms, the Clean Water Act. I think I have a search that used it. How about we use this one? Navigable waters and the Clean Water Act. Navigable within 2 of water and fill or dredge in Clean Water Act. So I used a Boolean search using our search terms, and we've come up with a list of search results. You can see our search results are highlighted, and you find a number of articles here, including you will find eventually in this list that DU Law Review article that we had found before. All right. Quite a large collection of documents, though, 2,422. Not a problem, though. There are ways we can narrow it down. Interestingly, here we have an article now from the Utah Bar Journal. So that's going to be a different kind of article than, for example, an article from here, the Connecticut Law Review, for example, as well. So it's just depending what you're looking for as a help for your research from law journal articles. Of course, we could also do an advanced search, and there are some fields we could use to narrow down, not a whole bunch: title, citation, author, etc., and do a search that way. If we bring the article up, you will get the article itself, and generally you're not going to find, as I mentioned in the presentation, you're not going to find illustrations or maps or that sort of charts or that sort of thing in the article. So that's the Westlaw way, and you have to remember that really it's only full text since 1994, and then it's spotty before that. Lexis Advance is going to be similar. Here's Lexis Advance. Here are the content areas. We can do the same sorts of things, look for secondary materials as a content area, and then drill down here to law reviews and journals. It's good practice to check the information bubble to see what is included in the library, and it tells us it's all available scholarly publications, usually edited by law students in conjunction with faculty members, and the kinds of articles that they contain that we talked about. So we can choose that as a search, and let's run a search that we did in Westlaw: navigable within 2 of water, and we'll try. Let's try this search, and this comes up, and we get 1,125, which is still a lot, and it's slightly different result set. We could dig through them more carefully to come up with relevant articles. We could bring up any one of these, and it's going to be similar to what we saw on Westlaw for presentation of the title, of the author, and the article itself, with the usual features of Westlaw for Lexis for downloading documents. All right, so those are the 3 search methods and the caveats for finding law journal articles. If you have any questions, let me know. Okay, so that is the presentation on how to research law journals. If you have any questions about that, please contact me. My contact information is here on the slide. Thank you.